Guys, in this video, we are going to learn how to build a React application where we can enable the dark mode and the light mode. So this application basically has a light mode and the dark mode theme. And in this video, we are going to look at how we can build light and dark mode themes in React application using Tailwind CSS. So this application has been built entirely using Tailwind CSS. So after watching this video, you'll be able to build this feature in any of your React applications. So stay tuned till the end of the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so. Now let's go to Visual Studio Code and start building this application from scratch. So guys, I have a sample application that is running here in my browser. We are going to treat this application as a reference and try to build this feature into our new React application which is running here. So in this new React application, I have already enabled Tailwind CSS, and this application has been set up using white and Tailwind CSS. If you want to know how to set up a Tailwind CSS in React application, I have another video on that and I'll be leaving a link to that video in the description. So let's start building this application. Let's have a look at our sample application. So here in our sample application, you can see that we have mainly two components in this application. One is this button that is some kind of icon to enable the dark mode and the light mode, and we also have some cards here. So these cards are aligned vertically on a mobile screen, and on a big screen they are aligned 4 in a row. So here in our new React application, basically now we know that we are going to need two components. So here under the source, I'm just going to create a folder that is going to be components. So here under the components, I'm just going to create two files. One of them is going to be card.jsx, and this is going to be the card that we see here, and another component that we are going to create here is going to be toggle dark mode.jsx, and this is going to be the button that we see here in our sample application. Let's go back to our application that we are building, and here under the card, I'm just going to create a React functional component that is going to be called card. Same way, I'm just going to also create a functional component here, and this component is going to be called toggle dark mode. So now we got two components in this application. So I'll go to my app.jsx file and import my two components here. So let's import card from card. Let's also go and import toggle dark mode here. So here under the return, I'm just going to remove my default hello world and place my toggle dark mode component first. So that's my toggle dark mode component that's here, and after that I'm just going to place my card component. So that's my card component. Let's copy this card component and place few more cards on the application, and now we can go and design these components one by one. So let's go to toggle dark mode component first. So basically in this component we are going to need a button, so I'm just going to call it a button, and we are going to be using some icons in this project. For example, in the sample project you can see that I'm using two icons here. So the icons that I'm going to be using in this application are going to be React icons. So I'm just going to search React icons in my browser, and here I should be able to find the documentation of React icons. So here in React icons, we are going to be basically using two icons. One of them is going to be sun, which we are going to be using to enable light mode in our application. So I'm just going to import this icon into our React application. But before we do that, we also have to install React icons in our application. So I'm just going to open a new terminal here and install React icons by running a command npm install react icons. So now React icons have been installed in this project. We should not have any problem in importing these icons. So another icon that we are going to use is going to be the moon icon, which we can use to enable dark mode. So let's see the moon icon, copy that from here and put it here. So here under the button, we are going to place our icon. So let's place one of our icon here. That is going to be moon icon. So I'm just placing a moon icon here. So let's see how this is looking in our application. So here in our application, I'm able to see this icon here. So here in toggle dark mode, what we want to do is when somebody is going to click on this button, the dark mode is going to be enabled. To do that, we are going to create a state variable in this application that is going to be dark mode and set dark mode. And by default, the state variable is going to be false, which means by default, dark mode is not enabled. But when somebody is going to click on this button, the dark mode is going to get enabled. So here on the button, we can add a on click event listener. So on click of a button, we are going to call a function that is going to be handle click. So we don't have this function right now. So we are going to create this function here above the return statement, which is going to be handle click. And here what we are going to say is on handle click, it's going to change the state of my dark mode. And let's say that initially it's going to set it to true. When somebody clicks on it, the dark mode is going to set to true. So here under the button, what we want is as soon as I click on this, maybe the dark mode is already set to true. So here I'm just going to put a condition here. If my dark mode is true, in that case, I want to show a button to enable the light mode, which is our icon, that is the sun icon that we imported here. So if the dark mode is enabled, it's going to show the sun icon, and if the dark mode is not enabled, it's going to show the moon icon. So now if I refresh my application, my dark mode is false, and it's the reason we are able to see the moon icon. And if I click on that, I'm able to see the sun icon because now the dark mode has been set to true. But here what we want is we want to toggle the dark mode. Instead of setting it from true to false, we are going to set it to not dark mode, which means if the dark mode was false in the beginning, it's going to set it to true. If it was true, then it's going to set it to false, because we are setting the dark mode to not dark mode. So now if I click on this, I'll be able to see the moon icon, and if I click on it again, I'll be able to see the sun icon. So this is going to toggle the dark mode and the light mode. So before we build this application further, we can put some styling on this button. So here on the button, I'm just going to assign a class name. I'm just going to give it a padding of 4, and padding Y is going to be 2. And we are also going to give it a background color of gray 200. So this is how the button is going to look like now. We can also say that the text is going to be black. So here on the icon also, we can assign a class name and increase the text size to 20 pixels. So this is going to increase the size of the icon so we can see it clearly on the screen. And the same way, we are also going to increase the size of our moon icon to 30 pixels. So this is going to increase the size of the button here. Now our button is looking fine. So as of now, this button is working. It's changing the state, that is dark mode, from true to false, false to true. But based on that, we also want to apply the styling to the card. So before we do that, we are going to go and design the card in our card component here. So guys, here in our card component, I'm just going to remove the text here, that is card, and I'm just going to place some lorem ipsum text here inside my card component. So here in my card component, I've just created 2 tags. One is h2 that says dark mode card, and there is a paragraph tag which is just a lorem ipsum text. So if I save this, that's how my cards are going to look like now. They have a h2 and they have a paragraph tag here. And let's apply some CSS on this to style this card in a proper way. So here on my h2 tag, let me assign a class name here and say that my text is going to be XL size and font is going to be bold. So that is just going to change the font of my dark mode card. And here on my paragraph tag, let's assign a class name and give it a margin top of 2. So this is going to just put some margin between the h2 and the paragraph. And on my div tag, we are going to assign a class name, and we can say that this is going to have a padding of 4, and the background of this is going to be white, and we are going to put a shadow around this card. So this is going to create a very light shadow around the card. And let's also say that the text color is going to be gray 900, which is very close to black, but not exactly black. So we can see that our card is looking okay now. Let's go to app.jsx. So here in app.jsx, what we are going to do is all the cards, we are going to wrap it under a div tag. Let's wrap it under a div tag and let's assign a class name here. We are going to make this div as flex. We are going to say that it's going to be flex wrap, and we are going to justify the content to center. And we can also give it a gap of 1. Maybe we can increase the gap to 2. So this is going to create a very minor gap between the cards. And we can also give it a margin top, so it can have some spacing from the button here. Let's give it a margin top of 3. So this is looking good now. Our button is working, but we can see that our button is not changing any styling on the cards. It's not turning them into dark mode. And this is a point where we can start implementing the dark mode theme into this Tailwind CSS project. And when on click of a button, we want this cards to turn into dark mode. So to do that, we are going to define the styling on the card. Let's go to the card. So here on the card, we have defined that background color is going to be white. It's going to have a shadow. Text is going to be gray 900. I'm just going to add one more class here. So here I'm just going to say that if my mode is dark, in that case, my background is going to be gray 900. And again, I'm going to say if my mode is dark, my text is going to be, let's make it lighter. So gray 100. So background is going to be darker and text is going to be lighter. And by default, we have a background that is white, which is light in color, and text is dark. So that is basically the styling of the card on the light theme. And on the dark theme, I have assigned a styling, that is background color is going to be dark gray and text is going to be very light gray, which is closer to white. So now that we have written the CSS for the dark mode on this card, we have to go and make some changes in the toggle dark mode function. So when somebody is going to click on this, the dark mode styling that we have defined on the card should apply here. So to do that, we have to make some changes in this handle click function. So in this handle click function, we are going to do some DOM manipulation. So when somebody is going to click on this button, so the class name dark is going to be added in our document. So let's do that. So here, how we can do that is if dark mode is inactive, that is if not dark mode, what we are going to do is we are going to say document element dot class list dot add. So we are going to add a class name that is dark, and we have already defined the styling of the dark mode on the card. So this is going to happen only if the dark mode is not already been enabled. Otherwise, it's going to, instead of adding the class, so if the class is already there, it's going to remove the class dark. So let me expand this and understand this better. So here on the handle click function, what's happening is if dark mode is not enabled, then it's going to add a class name dark to the entire document here. And we have defined the styling for the dark mode on the card already. And if the dark mode is already enabled, then it's going to remove the class dark and it's going to switch to the light mode again. So if I save this and try it, it's still not working here. So there is one more step that we have to do for this dark mode class that we have assigned here. To make it work, we are going to need one more step in this application. So in this application, we are going to find our file that is tailwind config.js. So I'm just going to go to my tailwind config.js. So I just have to make a minor change here. I just have to add a dark mode class here. So the dark mode is enabled in the Tailwind CSS. So now if I go and try this, my dark mode classes are being assigned. I can also make some changes to this. Let's say that when the dark mode is enabled, I want the background to be black, not gray. So on my card component, I'm just going to change my background to black. So when the dark mode is enabled, the background is going to be black. And I can also change the color of the text here. I can also say that when the dark mode is enabled, I'm just going to change my text color to yellow. So you can make any changes you want. You can define the styling of the dark mode by writing a keyword dark here with a colon. So guys, our dark mode theme is working perfectly fine. So that's all I wanted to cover in this video. If you found a value in this video, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.